What up, y'all? This is Tracy from Nerd Squish, and today we're gonna talk about Abigail. Abigail is the 2024 reimagining of the 1936 movie Dracula's Daughter. The story follows a heist crew who was hired to kidnap the little girl of a mysterious billionaire. They have no idea who the little girl is or who her father is. The only thing that they know is once they kidnap this little girl, they have to watch her for one night, and if all goes well, they'll get $50 million. Naturally, things don't quite go according to plan when they realize that that little girl is actually a vampire. I have been so excited to see this movie for what feels like forever, so I'm so excited that I finally got to watch it, and now I get to break down and review it with you nerds. But before we get into the details, if you're a returning viewer, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. And if you're new here, this is Nerd Squish, where we take everything spooky and we take everything nerdy and we squish it all together. So if you like vampires, horror movies, and pop culture, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can see more videos from us in the future. So obviously this modern retelling is very different from the 1936 Dracula's Daughter, but it definitely takes a fun and unique spin on legendary monsters. Which is super refreshing to say because most modern monster movies, they just don't get it. Recent monster movies are so caught up in their effort to make the monsters modern that they just kind of fall flat. Abigail, however, celebrated a classic horror character, and they had a whole lot of fun doing it. Now, I knew this movie was gonna be a good time the second I heard Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. Todd Browning's classic 1931 Dracula had this very same song playing over the opening title card. So right off the bat, get it? The makers here, you know that they love the original source material and they are gonna do their best to represent it well. This also explains the decision to make Dracula's daughter a ballerina, which, needless to say, is hilarious. In the midst of murder and mayhem, this little girl is just doing pliés and moving from third position to fourth position. Alicia Ware plays the titular character, and she does a damn good job doing it. She pulls off the sinister child of the night perfectly and convincingly. She is pure joy to watch, and I can't wait to see her in more projects in the future. Although this movie is a bit over the top, it never comes off cheesy in my opinion, and I think a big part of that is the actors behind these characters. The heist crew is fun to watch because it's with these characters that the comedy really leaks into this horror thriller. At first, the characters kind of seem like boring archetypes, but the chemistry between them makes them so much more than that. I particularly love the relationship between Sammy, played by Kathryn Newton, and Peter, played by Kevin Durand. It's almost like a little sister, big brother kind of relationship, but there's something about it that just makes me so happy. Like most Rat Pack crews, they're given nicknames and told not to talk about their lives, don't get to know each other, just do the job, nothing else. But let's face it, when you're fighting supernatural monsters, rules kind of go out the window. The movie does a really good job of getting you to like the characters, but at the same time, not getting too deep into it to where you would be devastated when they inevitably meet their end. This is truly a fine line, and the movie balances it very well. And I'm just excited to see Kathryn Newton in anything. I think she's just so much fun to watch. I loved her in Supernatural, Lisa Frankenstein, and Freaky. She's definitely one of our modern scream queens, but she's not the only modern scream queen in this movie. We also have Melissa Barrera of Scream fame, so like, that's just amazing. Like, the cast in this movie is so much fun. I really love that this movie never takes itself seriously. There are some times when movies need to be taken serious. A 12-year-old little girl that's a ballerina vampire, that doesn't need to be serious. That's just fun. The vibe of this movie is very on par with titles like Van Helsing and The Mummy. I would even relate the tone to something like Buffy or Big Wolf. You've got monsters, action, and comedy, which is my personal favorite recipe for a story. The film and its characters are extremely self-aware. You know, in the movie, when they realize that they're dealing with a vampire, the crew just starts spouting off knowledge about vampires in pop culture to figure out how to fight this thing. They mention Anne Rice, True Blood, and Twilight, and all the different lore between them. As a pop culture fanatic, I love when movies and TV shows reference pop culture, especially when dealing with monsters, obviously. To me, there is nothing worse in a story than when you have characters that they're fighting a supernatural monster and they're apparently in a world where they don't have these movies and TV shows that we've had, so they're just like, what is this thing? And they come up with like names that don't make sense. I mean, the biggest example that I can think of is something like The Walking Dead, which is a great show. Well, it was. I don't even know where they are these days. That went on a little too long. I digress. That's not the point of this review. The point is that I cannot stand that they call them walkers. That's a zombie. That's a zombie. You're telling me in your world you've never heard of a zombie? I'm not buying it. And when it comes to references in this movie, there is a lot to unpack. One of the first things that I noticed in the film is when the crew is given their Rat Pack nicknames, Kathryn Newton is given Sammy, while Angus Cloud, who is coincidentally standing right next to her, is given Dean. Which made me giggle because Kathryn Newton was on the show Supernatural, whose main stars are Sam and Dean. However, there's a lot of other references that aren't so obvious. Melissa's name in the movie is Joey, but she actually helped develop her character's actual name, which is Ana Lucia Cruz. Ana Lucia is a reference to Lucy from the original Bram Stoker's Dracula. And Cruz was chosen as the last name. It means crucifix, so as something to protect you from a vampire. I love any time that a cast and crew gets so into their story and their characters that they like to go in a little bit deep and a little sneaky with, the reason as to why they come up with these names and these choices for characters. I always just think that's really, really fun. Another interesting name Easter egg of sorts is Count Dracula's. In the movie, he's not referred to as Dracula, but as Christophe Lazar. Lazar, of course, being the shortened version of Lazarus, who is the man that Jesus brought back from the dead in the Bible. And, Lazar, Lazarus, this is not a new concept in vampire stories. We've seen this before, but I just always love that little nod. Perhaps one of the most subtle references in the movie is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, which is a mystery novel about a group of people that are killed off one by one. Which I shouldn't have to tell you that that's a spoiler. If you've seen the trailer, you know what the movie's about. We got a group of people. They're locked in a house with a little tiny vampire. Like, you think they're all gonna live? No, they're not. I definitely feel like this is a movie where every time you watch it, you're gonna notice more little Easter eggs, nods, and references. So I'm super excited for future rewatches of this movie. And not only that, I think it's just got a lot of rewatchability in general because of the nature of something like this. It's not serious. It's not a snooze fest. It's a very fun, comedic movie. You literally have a little girl dressed as a ballerina trying to kill you. That's amazing and hilarious. And then you have this group of different personalities all locked in this house, kind of going insane, trying to get out, trying to figure out what's going on. It's very Clue. It definitely gives Clue vibes, which is one of my favorite movies. Another thing that's interesting about this is if you've seen my last video, we're talking about Halloween Horror Nights and how I speculated that the little skull icon on the speculation map could maybe be an Abigail house, which I was already excited about that thought. So I'm imagining the sets of this house and little tiny vampire ballerinas running after me, and that would just be a good time for a Horror Nights house. Please let that happen. Now, I knew when I saw this trailer that I would love this movie. It's always exciting to have a new monster movie in theaters, and this one is really a treat. The subtle and not so subtle nods to pop culture and movie monsters of the past. The fun characters played by mesmerizing actors. The explosive gore. No, literally, it gets pretty explosive. If you're a vampire fan and someone that enjoys a movie that's just pure fun, no strings attached, this is a must watch. Have you seen the movie yet? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this movie review. If you did, give it a big ol' thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so when new videos hit the channel, you'll be notified. Especially if you're a Halloween Horror Nights fan and you intend to go to the event this year, because we just might see this movie pop up. And I'll be talking about all the announcements, all the speculations, and it's always a good time. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you nerds later!